Okay, so you understand how to expand them and you understand how to convert from our bases to base 10. Now let's go the other way, going from base 10 to the base you want to use. So it's going to be the same no matter which kind of base we're using. I'm going over some of our basic ones plus base 5 because that's what I wanted to do. And what you're going to do is you're going to start off by saying, okay, what's your number? And as you can see, you've probably seen for past couple of videos if you've been watching them, I like to use tables. Tables really help keep things organized and keep track of what all's going on. I will be using the bottom half for some scratch work, mostly to show you what I did off on the side ahead of time because you don't need to see me trying to do my arithmetic. I can do math, arithmetic, sometimes. Oh no, I can do arithmetic, just sometimes I get tripped up. So anyway, what we're going to do is first we look at our number. Our number here is 89 in base 10 and we want to convert it to base 2. So what we do is we go out and look at our powers of 2 until we go past our number, because then we know that that one won't go in. So 2 to the 7th is 128. It's bigger than 89, so this doesn't get used, so it's a 0. And we can say our remainder is 89. That's fine. And then what we're going to do, we're going to say, okay, we want to then check it with the 64. So 64 is 2 to the 6th, goes into 89 how many times? It goes in once. And in fact, for binary, all of our numbers are going to go in either 1 or 0 times. That's one of the really nice things about binary. And in fact, any of our powers, you're never going to go in more than your base. Okay, so 64 goes into 89 once, and we do the subtraction, so we have 64. This is 25. So our remainder is 25. Okay, so our quotient is 1, our remainder is 25. So then we want to check and see if 32 goes in. Guess what? It doesn't. 32 doesn't go in, so it's 0 with a remainder of 25. So then we check 16. 16 goes in. In fact, it goes in once. So 16 goes into 25 one time. Subtract, so 25 minus 16 is 9. So that's our remainder. So we have 1 and 9 here. So now we're going to go here. Now here I'm actually at the point where I can do this part in my head. Okay, so 8 goes into 9 once with 1 left over. 4 does not go into 1, so that's a 0 with a 1. 2 does not go into 1, so it's a 0 with a 1. And now 1 goes into 1. Remember which way we're going. We're actually taking backwards. I have all of my arrows kind of backwards. I'm really saying, okay, 1 goes into 1 one time, and we have 0 remainder. And that's where we want to get. So when we get to 0 remainder, we're done. So now we have to look at our quotient row. This will be our answer. So 89 base 10 is the same thing as whether or not we need the leading 0 all depends on your situation. I'm not going to write it this time. So we have 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1 in base 2. So that was converting 89 base 10 to base 2. Now again, this is like everything else. It takes practice. So instead of practicing again with a base 2, we're going to practice again by looking at some of the other bases. And sometimes what happens doing it this way is it'll click. It might not click in base 2, but it'll click in base 5, or it'll click in base 8. And whichever one it clicks in, then you go back and you look at the others again. And at that point, it should be clicking. So let's take a look at base 5. So I picked 423, base 10, and it's actually the same number that we used before, but I wanted to go this way with it. Excuse me. And so what we're going to do, same thing. 625 is too big, so maybe write too big. Leave this blank. The remainder is 423, which however you wish to do it. So now we're going to say, okay, 125 goes into 423. How many times? 125 goes into 423. No more than 4. Otherwise, we would have been 5 to the 4th. Okay, 125 goes in 3 times. 125 times 3 is 375. And what do we have left over? We have 48 left over. So this is our remainder. This is our quotient. 3 is our quotient. 48 is our remainder. We're going to take the 25, put it into 48. I know it goes in once, because again, we're actually getting to a small enough number. It's pretty easy to think about. So 25 goes into 48 once. 25 from that is 23. So we have a 1 and a 23. 5 goes into 23 4 times with 3 left over. And so our 3 can go right there and get a 0. So this is 3, 1, 4, 3, base 5. And that was 423, 23. Let me write that again, because my pen was doing one thing and my mouth was doing another. 423 base 10 is 3,143 base 5. Let's do 634 base 8. And I always try to make one number bigger. That way I know them as far as I need to be. Because if I stopped at 512, I couldn't be sure. Because, like I said, my arithmetic skills are not super powerful, but they're good enough for most things. So going that one step beyond assures me that the 634 is getting divided by the biggest power of 8. So 512 into 634, it actually only goes in once. And 512, 634 minus 512 is 122. So what do we have? We have 122. 64 goes into 122 just once. And we get 58 as our remainder. So 1 and a 58. And 8 goes into 58 actually 7 times, with 2 for our remainder. Because 7 times 8 is 56. That's why I was able to do that one. And so my 2 just goes into my ones column. That's my remainder. So 634 base 10 is 1,172 base 8. Notice that the base 10 to base 8 makes a larger number. It should not be surprising because 10 is bigger than 8. Now for our final one for this video, we're going to do 932 base 10 to base 16. Now I did actually go further than I needed to. I really only needed here. So 932 is my remainder. And again, my pen is doing one thing and I'm saying something else. 932. So 256 will certainly go into it, but how many times? 256 goes into 932. It goes in, let's see, 3 times, because 2 goes into 9, 4, but we have more than half of 100, so that gives me a clue that it would only be 3. So 3 times 6 is 18, carry my 1, so I've got 768 for my number, and 164 for my remainder. So 3, 164. 16 will go into 164. Again, that's getting a little big for me to do in my head, but you know what? I should have been able to, because 16 goes into 160 10 times. So that's a 10. 16 goes into that 10 times. 160, we have a 4 as our remainder. So this is a 10, and this is a 4, so the 4 goes here. But 10, remember, we write as A. So this is 3A, 4 in base 16. And this was 932 in base 10. So I hope this helps with converting from base 10 to the other bases. And again, it's just going to be the same process whether you're going to base 7 or base 12, no matter what.